I have my top 11 winter baby names for you today. 5 girl, 5 boy, 1 unisex or non-gendered coming your way. Let's go. Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Becky and I'm the incredibly proud owner and author at Writeabee.com, and I'm taking you all the way from pregnancy to awesome, empathetic, creative kids on my blog. So if that sounds like what you're looking for, welcome. Make sure you turn on subscribe and notifications so you don't miss any of our awesome tips and tricks for raising your new little one. All right, let's jump right in. The very first name on my list today is Juniper. So if you are loving those poppy, olive kind of names, Juniper is one of those with a kind of a wintry twist. Juniper is number 195 on the popularity chart. So it's definitely a name that people have seen, and it's something people will easily be able to say as they've seen it already in the botanical world. So obviously Juniper is an evergreen shrub, but the name meaning is young. And so the fact that it's an evergreen is kind of what qualifies it to be on our winter-themed baby list. I live in the north, and so in about October, we start to see everything turn super brown, and those evergreens are really the only thing that keep us going from October till April. A couple interesting name associations for the name Juniper. Here in the States, we have this very popular book character, Junie B. Jones, and her name is actually Juniper Beatrice. So Junie B is Juniper Beatrice, and the very awesome Goodnight Moon author occasionally wrote under the pen name Juniper Sage. So 2 very cool Juniper associations. I really like Juniper. I feel like it has that botanical, almost hippie kind of vibe without being over the line for me. And I do have to say the nicknames really sell it. June, Junie, super cute. They throw back to me to older names like Joan, and I love those older vintage names that have kind of been forgotten, and so June falls into that category for me, as does Junie. So June, Junie, Juniper, I love it all, and I think you should consider it. Next on my list is a name you maybe haven't heard of, and that's Alba. Alba is Latin for white, and so that is what qualifies it in our winter themed. I live in the north, like I said, and it's very white all winter long here. So white we associate with kind of new, fresh, and clean, and I think that that's very sweet. Alba is not a name that I've seen here in the US, and I'm a teacher, was a teacher for 10 years, and so I like that. I like that I don't have any associations to it. So if you are a teacher or someone who has tons and tons of name associations, this one might be one for you to consider. It has those 2 A's on the ends, Alba, and kind of like Ava or Ella, those feminine vowels on each end. So if you're into those names, you might be into Alba. The only association that I have with Alba would be Jessica Alba. And that's not a deal breaker for me. I don't have strong feelings about her or her brand. So I really like Alba. I think it's a different twist on Ava and Ella, which I've seen 100,000 times in my classroom, but I really have never ever met or seen Alba. I think people will be able to say it, and I think people will be able to read it and automatically assume that it's female. So if that's something that's important to you, Alba. Really interesting tidbit about the name Alba is it's actually a top 10 name in Spain. So here in the US, it's never cracked 1,000. It's actually top 10 in Spain. Name number 3, Ivy. I know it's a little on the nose, and I really try hard not to bring you names that are too easy, for lack of a better word, but I'm bringing you Ivy. I think that Ivy is just classic and has become more popular since Beyonce named her little one Blue Ivy. So I think it's definitely a name that is modernized. When a celebrity uses it, it tends to modernize a name and bring it back. So Ivy, I definitely think is classic. I think it's classy, and I think grows well. So I can imagine a little baby Ivy as well as a maternal grandmother Ivy. Ivy is number 68 on our US popularity list, so it's a little higher than names I typically bring you. I like to bring you things definitely under 50, hopefully under 100, but I just couldn't resist ivy. Obviously, it's a traditional Christmas plant, which is what puts it on our list here. And again, it's an evergreen, so that kind of qualifies it to be on our winter list. Cool thing about ivy is that ancient Greeks used to give it out as a wedding gift to newlyweds. And in the flower world, the flower meaning is faithfulness. So as we're talking about winter holidays and having faith, especially during these pandemic times, having faith in a better tomorrow, if you're birthing a new little one or renaming yourself during this time, faith. Have faith that we're going to get through this. Have faith that things will go well. And I think ivy really hits that on the head, really nails that one well. So I like ivy. The only really associations I have with ivy, I naturally think of Ivy League, which again is not a bad association, but there's also, I believe, an American Girl doll with the name Ivy. And I want to say she was maybe from the 70s, like the 1970s. So Ivy, there's definitely a few associations, Blue Ivy and Ivy League and the American Girl, but none of those are bad or a deal breaker for me. And I really like it. You know, I like those short and sweet names. All right, if you like names like Imogen or Amelia, you might be into this next one, Evie. Now, Evie is predominantly here in the US considered a nickname. And while that's not super popular to do, it is very popular in the UK to use a nickname as a name. Evie is number 329 here on the popularity charts in the US and means life. So again, what a beautiful sentiment in the middle of this horrific pandemic. You're bringing in a new life and naming it life. Again, we're celebrating in the winter holidays. If you're Christian, we're celebrating the birth of Jesus and a new life. And so the name Evie really ties and connects to that really beautifully and nicely. It has that V sound in it, which is so popular. People seem to really love it right now, myself included. And Evie has those two E's, so it has those two vowel sounds on either end, which in my opinion makes it ultra feminine. Also, I'm really sorry, I know my lighting is way different today. I'm filming much later in the day than I usually do, as my toddler went down a little bit later than he usually does. So I apologize, I feel like the lighting is all over the place and there's shadows, and just making the best of it. All right, the last female name I have for you is Wren. Now, Wren is definitely a name you've heard of, and I know that it's really popular with my nature-loving namers. However, Wren can be a winter-themed name. Here in the north where I live, we have a winter wren, and she is a really pretty cute little songbird. And she stays here in the north with us all winter and gets us through some of the darkest, shortest days. And so Wren, to me, is just a very beautiful, natural, winter-themed baby name. Here in the States, Wren is number 428 in popularity, so it's really not very popular. But again, because it's a name that's actually a word here in our language, people will easily be able to read it and say it. I do think Wren works very well for all the way through as well. So that's a really big important factor when I'm deciding my personal baby names, was were they good as a baby, were they good as a teen, and were they good as a mature adult? Because your child is going to live their whole life with this name, theoretically. So we want to make sure that it really fits. And I think Wren does that nicely. I think that it's definitely one of those natural names. So if you're not into the botanical, nature, earthly names, then this probably isn't on your list. However, if you're kind of loving those and looking for something that's not super popular, this could be it for you. Wren. Okay, so I did promise you one unisex name, and I'll give it to you now. I think it's unisex. I know that as I was researching this name, it tended to lean more feminine. However, for me, really, in my experience, it's really 50-50. So, Aspen. Aspen, to me, is very gender neutral or non-gendered. I think with the hard N sound at the end, that really helps to make sure that it doesn't feel ultra feminine. When you hear the word aspen, you could definitely have two different associations. You could think of the botanical tree that has these really beautiful heart-shaped leaves, or you could think of the really trendy ski resort in Colorado. Either one, I think, is an awesome association and definitely puts it squarely into the winter-themed names since it's a ski resort. And I love that you don't know if it's male or female. So if you're really into picking a name and having that be your name no matter what no matter what gender you have at birth, or if you're looking for kind of green names, this one could be really high on your list. I really love vowel names. So any name that starts with a vowel, I think, tends to be really popular. And so I think aspen will continue to climb in popularity. So if you love it, you may want to grab it before it reaches its peak. Okay, so let's move into my favorite male winter-themed baby names. Now this one you may consider to be a little out there, but the more that I think about it, the more that I love it, and the more that I really want to give it to you. So, Vinter. Vinter is winter with a V, which is literally from the Danish language, obviously meaning winter. So, I really like that V sound. I've talked to you before, and it nicknames down to Vin or Vinny without being Vincent. And so I really, really like those nicknames. Vincent doesn't do it for me, but I really, really like those nicknames, those short and sweet names. So, Vinter. Vinter, to me, is just a really fresh take on Vin. And I think Vin is gaining in popularity. Vincent is gaining in popularity again as we're bringing back these older vintage names. Maybe you don't want a super popular name, but you still really want a Vin. In baby name land, the name Winter itself is really growing and increasing. And so this is just kind of a fresh take. It's putting a V in there, which is a really popular baby name sound right now. So it's kind of taking the best of two worlds and smushing them together. But I know that this is not for everybody. So tell me in the comments, do you like this? Do you not like this? Are you into the V sound? Are you not? Vinter. Tell me, what do you think? Yay or nay? Okay, next on my list comes in at number 79 on the popularity chart, and that is Christian. I know Christian is a little on the nose, considering that Christmas is one of the biggest Christian holidays happening right here in the middle of winter. However, I think it's a pretty classic name, even if you took away the Christ part out of it. I definitely think you can be non-Christian and use the name Christian. So it's definitely not an offensive name. You're not hurting anybody's feelings if you use the name Christian. I think nowadays people are less assuming, so you could name your baby Christian and not be Christian. And I don't think people would just assume, oh, you must be a follower of Christ because you named your baby Christian. People are using biblical names all over the place. So that doesn't feel like such a big deal to me. Also, I definitely feel like Christian is a name that grows well. So baby Christian all the way to adult mature Christian. And I don't think you need a nickname. So if you're really into those CH names like Christopher, you might be into Christian. Really super interesting. We consider Christian to be a pretty masculine name. However, in 17th and 18th century Scotland, it was feminine. It was a female name. So that's kind of cool. And remember, if it was good enough for Christian Bale, Christian Dior, and Christian Slater, it's good enough for me. All right, coming in at number 136 in popularity, Jasper. Jasper literally translates as bringer of treasure. So when you think of bringer of treasure, that is definitely one of the three wise men. So Jasper is one of the three wise men who brings treasures to the baby Jesus. And that puts it center again as a winter-themed baby name. Now, again, same with Christian. For Jasper, it's not an offensive name. So if you use Jasper and you're not Christian, you're not offending people. People don't hear the name Jasper and automatically associate that with, oh, he was one of the wise men. That's not how that works. So definitely, if you like Jasper and you're not Christian, you can absolutely feel free to use it and know that you're not hurting feelings. The other thing to know about Jasper is that it actually has some German variations. So if you're not into Jasper, perhaps you're into Casper or Caspar. Those are the German variations of Jasper. And I personally really like all three. I know that for a long time, people were associating Casper with the friendly ghost, but I don't think that's such a thing anymore. I think that's just us Zennials that do that, but I don't think that's a real thing anymore. So if you can get past that association, I think it's so cute. Jasper is 136 and climbing the popularity charts. It became way more popular after the Twilight series, where Jasper Cullen is a part of the vampire family. So just know that Jasper does have a few associations, Casper has a few associations, but I definitely think that enough time has gone by from both of those that you could consider using them, and people wouldn't automatically just assume, oh, that's because of that. Okay, next up is Colden. Colden literally has the word cold in it, which means it gets featured in our winter baby list. I think that this is a really cool variation on words like Colden or Caleb, and really kind of puts a new spin on some of those words, or on some of those names. And I really like Cole as a standalone name, but I felt like that was too on the nose. So Colden actually could nickname down to Cole. Colden could nickname down to Cole. And I think that both are really cute and very sweet and very wintry as well. Colden translates to mean dark valley. And when I think about that, I imagine a mountain, and then at night, there's kind of a sleepy little town underneath in the valley below. And so that's kind of what I'm imagining is the dark valley. It's kind of at night, kind of dark and cold. Wintry, very wintry. All right, so we need our West Yorkshire friends to help us, but from what I understand, Colden is actually originally a surname in the UK, which was derived from a place in West Yorkshire. So we need some help. Help us. Is that true? Let us know in the comments below. We'd love to learn a little bit more about Colden. All right, and last but certainly not least, Kendry. Now, when I hear Kendry, I kind of automatically start searching. What do I know that sounds like Kendry? What does this mean? What is it? I've never heard it before. And the first thing my brain lands on is Landry. Landry to me is very unisex. Kendry, because of the Ken, feels more masculine to me than Landry does. So I really like Kendry. I like the nickname Ken or Kenny. But I like Kendry as a standalone name. Now, when I was researching this, it did look like it originated in a few different places, but it looks like predominantly it's considered having originated from Madagascar. So I think it's a very cool name that easily translates well into the English language and literally means wise man. So while it doesn't necessarily translate to being one of the wise men, it literally means wise man. So you're naming your baby smart, intelligent, wise, and I think that that's really cool. And that wise man is kind of what puts it into our winter themed list. All right, thanks so much for sticking around until the end. I had a great time talking winter baby names with you. Please leave me a comment and let me know what you are looking for in a name. If I didn't give it to you yet, what are you looking for in a name? I'll consider it a challenge and try to help you come up with the best baby name list that I can. Stop by next Wednesday for a new round of names.